King Kong vs Godzilla was the first time Toho played around with the 8th wonder of the world, but it wouldn't be the last. Not that 1967's King Kong Escapes has anything to do with what came before, mind you. In the mid-60s, American production company Rankin Bass found success in their King Kong cartoon, animated by the Japanese studio Toei. To capitalize on the success of the show, they went to Toei's rival Toho asking for them to develop a feature-length film adaptation of their version of the giant ape. The Japanese studio then pitched a story where Kong would fight a giant crustacean in a tropical island resided by a terrorist organization. Also, Mothra would be there. If that sounds familiar to you, it's because that's the premise of Ebirah Horror of the Deep from 1966. Rankin Bass didn't think their idea aligned with the plot of the cartoon, so Toho just replaced Kong with Godzilla and made the film anyway. As for the commissioned project, they eventually formulated a different script that had more in common with the King Kong show, including elements like Mechanic Kong, the island of Mondo, and the villain Doctor Who, no relation. So to recapitulate, we are talking about a movie made by Toho based on a cartoon animated by Toei and produced by Rankin Bass, itself based on a character created by RKO. Are we all on the same page? Good. This being essentially an American production made for their market, the movie has a bigger number of white bread faces than usual. 2 of them to be exact, as opposed to the usual one, but they are the main couple and protagonists of the action, while Akira Takarada just hangs around third wheeling. Another consequence of this production process is the fact that Kong looks absolutely nothing like his more proportionate self from the 1962 film, being way more cartoonish with longer arms and an overall shorter body. Not to mention this face. Deep within the cold whiteness of Texas, the evil Dr. What? Oh, I'm sorry, my bad. Deep within the cold whiteness of the Arctic Circle, the evil Doctor Who was commissioned by the mysterious Madame Piranha to extract the rare element X from the bowels of the Earth. With this material, the woman and her nation shall create the most powerful nuclear weapons the world has ever— Wait! No! It's him? Again? To achieve this goal, the mad scientists developed a robotic version of the most powerful creature alive, King Kong. Except this Mechanic Kong is even more powerful than this organic counter. Really? If you can fund the development of a super robot the size of a building, why bother with atomic weapons in the first place? Turns out Mechanic Kong isn't as fit for the job as initially thought, with the element X strong magnetic fields damaging its internal circuitry and forcing Doctor Who to halt the mining operation entirely. A surprisingly sober depiction of how stuff actually works, considering it was made by the same people who think radiation makes thin girls bigger. Since the robot won't do the job, Doctor Who suggests for them to employ the next best thing, the real Kong. But how, since nobody knows the whereabouts of the creature? In the middle of the Pacific Ocean, the research submarine Explorer is in a mission for the United Nations when it is hit by rocks and is forced to stop for repairs. Since they are so close of an unexplored island, Commander Carl Nelson, Lieutenant Commander Jiro Nomura and Lieutenant Susan Watson decide to take a walk on these mysterious new lands, and oh my god, this hovercraft is the most adorable thing I've ever seen. I want a toy of it to put on my shelf. While on the island, the trio is warned by a native about this being Kong's territory, where trespassers shall not be tolerated. A warning to which the foreigners reply, "Fuck that, we want to see the giant monkey," and set out to do just that, leaving the girl behind.
Alone?
You're safer here.
It's almost like they wanted her to be bait or something. Not 1 minute passes and the poor woman attracts the attention of a giant dinosaur and starts screaming from the top of her lungs for help. Her screams attract not the assistance she wanted, but rather the one from King
Kong! Kong! No Kong! 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 No Kong!
Alright lady, chill.
Kong! 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 King
You gotta love the way she says King as if it was his first name though. Kong goes... Well, might as well try. Why don't you do it again? I'm sure it will work a third. Once he managed to get a good grip on Gorosaurus, the ape violently beats the other monster to a pulp, finishing it with a trademark Kong Jaw Ripper. Ouch. The three humans take the time Kong is fighting the other creature to get on the hovercraft and back into the now repaired submarine, leaving the giant monster to sob over the fact the pretty lady is going away. Back to civilization, they tell everyone about their discovery at Mondo Island and start discussing a scientific expedition to the place as to study Kong in his natural habitat. This news eventually gets to the ear of Doctor Who prepares an expedition to the island where a fleet of helicopters start bombing the place, forcing Kong to... You sly bastards, you thought we wouldn't notice, but we did. Once the monkey has been knocked out with the gas, the bad guys take him away from the island, but not before committing one last act of villainy and shooting dead the native man from before. An hypnotized Kong violently bashes the rock under the Arctic ice, exposing more of the element X as he does it. Unfortunately for the good doctor, the radiation starts affecting the monster, eventually releasing him from his hypnotized state. King Kong is pissed to say the least, and starts rampaging through the underground base. Once he has made it to the surface, the villains deploy the mechanical doppelganger to stop him. It was a massive waste of time as the real deal just outruns his pursuer and jumps into the freezing waters of the North Pole, disappearing from view, much to the frustration of Doctor Who and Madame Piranha. Their annoyance doesn't last though, as Kong eventually resurfaces at... can you guess it?
Kong swam ashore near Tokyo.
Piranha refuses to let Doctor Who take the robot to the big city, where the ensuing fight with Kong could kill thousands. Her partner replies by calling the woman a hypocrite, since the atomic weapon she wanted to build for her country would kill just as many if ever utilized. At Tokyo, Lieutenant Watson tries calming Kong with the thing he likes the most in the world, other than booze, a blonde chick. The appearance of Mechanic Kong in the city interrupts the moment of bonding between the two, and soon enough Watson is in the hands of the giant robot being carried all the way to the top of the Tokyo Tower, with Kong following right behind. Once the woman is safe, Kong goes for a final confrontation against his nemesis, each one trying to knock the other down from the tower. It's actually pretty cool because as they are fighting, Susan and Jiro are trying to climb down the structure while everything shakes around them. Mechanic Kong has the high ground and would have wasted his organic counterpart if it wasn't for Madame Piranha messing around with the robot's controls at the last minute. She pays the price for her interference, but ultimately allows the machine to lose its grip on the tower and plummet towards its demise. But work isn't over for the monkey yet. As the villains are trying to escape the Tokyo Bay in their ship, Kong violently punishes the vessel. This is exactly why furniture in ships is bolted to the floor. Once again, King Kong reigns supreme, and now all that's left for him is to swim back to his home at Mondo Island. Just like the movie It Never Was, King Kong's Capes was clearly trying to catch in the bone fever of the 1960s, with its shady organizations led by evil geniuses bent on tilting the balance of geopolitical power in the world, and femme fatales that are not that bad at the end of the day. Hell, Miyahama herself was in a Bond movie that same year. This is also a Kong movie through and through, as it features the two things the character is known for: climbing tall buildings and kidnapping blondes. So it's not like this is just another Toho monster flick with the ape tacked into it. Still, I would certainly have appreciated this one more in its original form with Ebra and all. It wouldn't be hard to replace the lobster with Mechanic Kong and insert Doctor Who as the head of the Red Bamboo, thus making the final product more in line with what we saw in the cartoon, just like Rankin Bass wanted. At the end of the day though, the movie that we got was serviceable enough, but even if it introduced one particular element Toho would milk to hell and back in future films, it is clear the best days of the genre were behind it, as this movie lacks the scale of previous ones. I mean, they had like 4 sets, and I'm pretty sure a couple of them were reused from other movies.
Monkey.